from your age range?
From about 18
From 18
through to 35, 37. Yeah. You mean the challenges in not just learning but in sourcing employment?
No, in actually learning, in actually doing the course, achieving it, yeah.
Ooh, there's a lot of challenges. Our challenges, first and foremost, is the resources. Our challenges is electricity. Our challenge is a suitable venue. And that is in terms of the logistics. What normally happens is that these learners walk about 15 to 20 kilometers from where they live to the mission. Once they're at the mission, they get picked up by the municipality and then they get driven to Bulwa where they do the practicals. Now the reason that they can't do the practicals at the mission is because of a lack of electricity. So we need electricity for the sewing machines. So this is why they've got to come from there to here. And if it's a theory day, because now we separate our theory from the practicals. If it's a theory day, then they'll just stay at Centre Cow mission, and that's just theory. And in the practical days, then we'll go there and do the practical. So we work with such an integrated approach that they've got to be exposed to the practical first to be able to understand the theory. Normally in society, it's knowledge transfer of knowledge into a skill. But here we're finding that, and this was just by chance, we're finding that it's working the opposite way. We've got to do a practical first, and then when they get to the theory, they understand it. And that was a challenge. There was a challenge with the even though there's a language barrier, and Linda has been facilitating in Zulu, in the mother tongue, there were still those that didn't understand. They were very, very, very slow learners. But they would grasp it in practical only and not really understand the theory part. So like, let's just say designing something which we didn't get to as yet, but we had to literally draw it on a piece of newspaper, give them the scissors, cut it on the newspaper, the zigzag, and then show them how you will join A to B. Literally. But if you just say to them, join component parts, they'll ask you, what's that? Like, I don't understand.
Join a piece of cloth, back and front, okay. They're trying to understand.
Yes.
If you show it first, yes.
And in quality itself, even though we're talking about quality in a clothing environment.
What is that?
Yes.
What is it? I need to sew in. I need to sew in.
We had to use different examples. Like you use maybe this cake as an example of quality. Would you like to receive? Simplify it in simplest form. Would you like it if this cake didn't have sugar? And it didn't taste nice. You break it down and you tell them about, maybe it didn't have enough salt. So we start teaching them about just quality, not in
balanced thing.
Balanced
thing. Everything is balanced.
Yeah. So we have to break it down, even though it was like between the ages of 18 and 37, we found that you had to bring it down almost to early childhood development. To that level of understanding and explanations. Like you explaining to early ECD, and then they'll grasp it. But once they grasp it, then they got it.
Actually, that would be another question. So you're saying 18 to 37, but what is the level of education generally?
Some of them had matric, but even those with the matric struggled with the ability to read, write, and count.
Because how long ago did they do matric, for example? I mean, had they been practicing those skills in the meantime?
No.
Not really. So they hadn't really been using those skills.
Not exposed to any type of environment. As Zithulele has just said just now, all they do is get up every day and cook and clean and sit. And that's one of the reasons that motivated me to do something in this community, because when I drive around, I just find the community members sitting outside on beer crates, just staring bleakly and blankly, you know, out there, like almost as though they're existing but waiting to die because there's nothing for them, you know. But now they realize they can tap into that knowledge that they acquired at school, even though school dropouts, because there was quite a lot of school dropouts as well.
Yeah.
But how many did you have?
So maybe 5 or 6
Out of a group of 24, there were 5 or 6 dropouts.
Yeah.
The others completed matric, but still found it difficult to read, write, and count.
And what would you say was the main reason why people had dropped out? Did they ever talk to you about that?
I think it's an environment. An environment. You grow a child like sleep. You are a woman. If you are a man, you're going to marry somebody, maybe a rich person. Not any skill towards your children. So that's why maybe drop out. I think it's environment.
Because you don't see the point of carrying on with school.
No.
Because there's nobody showing you what.
And the college is far. University is far. Everything is far to those people. That's why what is used for go to school, because someone is not, they no work around it. So that's why it's
When I got there and I interviewed, we had an induction orientation, there was a sense of hopelessness.
Yeah.
If you look at the pictures that I've got here, you can actually see the body language that speaks hopelessness. We are the forgotten community. There's nothing for us, nobody cares. What can we do? You know, we just exist here. And if you look at the look on their faces at the beginning, at induction and orientation, and look at the look on their faces when they graduated.
Yes, yeah.
It's a chalk and cheese. You can actually see the smiles and the look on their faces. And now they're already starting to earn money by doing these little small projects.
Yeah, that's why every day I got a call from those students. Another
challenge that I found that was totally heartbreaking was that even though they walked those 15 kilometers to the mission to do their theory studies, there was no funding for meals. There was no money for meals. So they would walk early in the morning, get to the venue. I mean, on those days where it was storming and raining and cold, and I went there, every single one of them attended, not one person dropped out. In all of those months, 4 months that we've done this, not one person dropped out. They would attend, they would sit there diligently every day, and not even a glass of water. I used to cook in the morning sometimes and take this up to the farm, 3.5 hours away. And that would be the only time that they got something, or else I'd put money in Linda's account from my own pocket and say, Linda, see what you can do. So they got no meals, they got no running water, there's no ablution facilities, and then they walk in those 15 kilometers to their venue, and still from there they get picked up and taken to Bulwer, which is 30 kilometers away. In the afternoon at 4 o'clock they get brought back to the venue, and then they got to walk from there all the way back home on an empty stomach. We didn't have sufficient funding or money to feed them, but we did what we could when we could. So that was another challenge, but they still persevered. They said, you know, we're going to get a certificate at the end of this. Yeah, in the peri-rural, I had 3 learners that dropped out. Whereas in rural, there was not one learner that dropped out. And yeah, in peri-rural, they got access to electricity, they got access to water, they would bring their lunches every day. So, you know, it just shows that. So that was an extreme challenge. And then these learners themselves took the onus upon themselves, took out a little bit of pocket money, and went to buy themselves uniforms. So they all looked uniformed. What we did, we provided them with these files, and in these files is an integration of theory and practicals as well. So every learner was given a file like this, If you can just turn to some of the pages where we've got the samples and the swatches. Where's those pages with the dots where they...
You put it down here, maybe then I can.
Yeah.
That looks really interesting.
So they were provided with samples of different types of fabrics, different types of stitching. They were also provided, can you see here?
There's a stitching.
Yeah, different types of stitching. That's the access to the machines that they had. And in the theory that would go with it as well. And look at the quality of the POE. In 4 months, they were able to do all of this work in rural development. And
so
they
this is
achieved
one
it.
person's POE.
This is just one person's POE. As you can see, there's the theory here. And they all were unit standard based, so it wasn't like fly-by-night training. It was all accredited training. And once they were certified, they were assessed by registered assessors. It was moderated by registered internal moderators. We used unit standard base training, which is linked to this qualification. So these were skills programs. There you go. All unit standard base. So it was all quality. Then before they had access to the actual sewing machines, they had to stitch on these lines with the sewing machine. They had to. That's where they started getting their practice, stitching on these lines. All the different.
How to handle it.
Yeah, how to handle the machine, how to maneuver. On newspaper before they were exposed to the actual fabric. See all of that. This was provided to us also by the seater.
How to
control the movements of the machine and that. Oh, and they were so excited because this was the first time. You should have seen the excitement on their faces. First time they were exposed to a sewing machine, and it's plugged in.
Yes.
And at this stage, they had learned how to thread the sewing machine as well. So, and it was like electrical. Most of them don't have electricity in their homes, and now they're in the classroom with
never saw the machine
in their lives before. I would love it for you to interview them themselves. See all these. So there was various different shapes and designs that they had to, over a period of time, obviously, learn how to maneuver the machine, control the pedals, the machine itself.
If you make a mistake, you show it.
Yes, if they made mistakes, then they would have to do it again. You identify, you show them exactly where the errors were, what happened there, and why they need to tell us. When they made errors, we would always give them the opportunity of explaining to us what's the difficulty. We wanted to understand how they understanding it.
Yeah.
And when we understood how they understanding it, then we could see where the gaps and where the challenges were. You say, oh, okay, this is why you're doing it that way. Did you look at, let's think creatively now. And they would get so excited, like, okay, we can do this in a different way.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of problem solving, creative thinking, all the critical cross fields outcomes. We exposed them to a lot of that as well. Yeah, so it was a different types of fabrics as well, different techniques. Yeah. So it was also assessed by registered assessors, moderated by registered moderators, and externally moderated by the seaters as well. And then we had a sort of like on graduation day, we had an exhibition where every learner had to produce a garment.
Yeah.
All the learners across the board, male and female, produced garments. And that's another thing that was the beauty of the project. It wasn't just females. It was males as well that were interested in fashion design. I think the gentleman came up with this, right?
Yes, that was the only gentleman on board.
Yeah. He came up with this. And the good thing is that they made smaller models of what they've actually worn. So if you look at the graduation pictures, you'll see that they're wearing a replica of this on their bodies. That was really a good thing. So yeah, we were able to, the seat had given us a limited amount of time as per the credits. We convert the credits into notional hours. So if it's 46 credits, then they would have had to spend 460 hours on this program, which we spread over a period of a few months. the 460 hours, but we made it. We didn't have to ask for an extension of time, and we didn't train every day. It was mostly Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So Monday would be reserved for their self-study, time for them to reflect on everything that's been taught in the classroom and at the practical center. And then Friday would be for their practicals now, to make something at home or do something at home. So there was a lot of self-study, there was group study, there was a lot of interaction, facilitator, myself. I mean, and there was times I've been mentoring and coaching Linda himself and my facilitators. So Linda has also attended the facilitators course now, learning the different methodologies, the different learning styles, how to identify the different types of learners, the pragmatists, and all of that. I think you're still busy with that. I'm waiting for his evidence on those programs. But yeah, all our facilitators are continuously trained and capacitated in terms of being facilitators and not teachers. Facilitators as in leading, but taking a helicopter approach and not getting too involved that you take it away, the responsibility away from the learners. You just give them something to chew on and something to think about, and you move back and then you observe. So a lot of our methodology is practical and observations. A lot of it. And yeah, I think it's been a success and it's really, really working. So now we're ready to start the next phase, which is the design. Only now they're getting into the design after they've done their own design.
It's so hard.
This year we're going to be doing design and productivity in a manufacturing environment. So what Linda and I have also done, and the learners, we approached the chief. Okay, you want to say what we did? The chief and the land that we acquired.
I approached the chief, and they don't give me the space for building the factory for this.
Yes.
We got the space.
So this is the vision. The vision is that when we started this project was to first get the skills. Now that we've got the skills, the confidence and the buy-in from the community themselves, very little from the municipality, and we've got from the church as well. I formed 5 co-ops for these the ladies. We identified the top learners in the class, and we've made them managing directors of the co-ops. So we're sitting with 4 that have been registered as I speak. 1 is still in the process of registration. We have approached economic development, who is hopefully going to come on board and give them a contract. But tomorrow I've got a meeting with the National Development Agency for us to get a contract from SASA to start making uniforms. So Linda on his property has got another run